Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about a not-so-typical general for control in a cool and fairly underplayed color combination, Numot the Devastator. Let's take a look. Numot is a 6/6 with flying for red, white, blue, and 3 colorless who can blow up 2 target lands when he hits a player for damage if you pay red and 2. Why play him over other American colored generals like Zetru or Ruhan? Well, he's a big body with evasion. Flying is still relevant in Commander. His big body turns him into a pretty awesome win condition for control decks. Back this guy up and swing. His land destruction ability hits any land on the board. Attack a defenseless player to get to a more dangerous one. And finally, land destruction is pretty relevant when facing down decks with lots of utility lands. This particular Numot deck seeks to be an Aikido style deck, using its opponent's own energy against them through stealing and copying their stuff. Clone. A pretty straightforward card. Copying the best creature on the board feels pretty good. It is also a decent way to off people's generals. Phyrexian Metamorph. Similar to Clone, but using this guy to make your own sort of Feast and Famine is pretty satisfying. Body Double. That Titan you just offed with mass removal? Yeah, it's yours now thanks to this shapeshifter. Sakashima the Imposter. Envy another player's general? Sakashima has got you covered. It can also be returned if you change your mind. Vesuva. Why limit yourself to creatures and artifacts? Copy someone's juicy utility land and use it to your own advantage. Gilded Drake. Your opponent having a 3/3 flyer is a small price to pay if you have their Ulamog. Control magic, mind control, and treachery. Blue's idea of removal, nothing annoys a green player more than taking their Primeval Titan. Rite of Replication. When kicked, this card turns irritating Woodfall Primuses and Palaka Worms into your best friends. Bribery. One of the best feelings a control player can have is taking that vital creature from someone and using it against them. Playing someone's general after an unhallowed burial is also pretty fun. Blatant Thievery. An insane steely spell with several handy uses, good when you're about to win the game, or if someone blows up your stuff and you need to grab a couple of things to regain board position. Thada Adel Acquisitor. If landed early game, she can steal you mana rocks to help you speed past the competition. Late game, she grabs winners like Mindslaver or Wormcoil Engine. Insurrection. Big, costly, and awesome, this puppy is a serious win condition for this deck. When no one is playing anything interesting enough to steal, however, Numot can turn into a devastating beater himself, and so there are a few cards in the deck that help us do just that. Swiftfoot Boots and Lightning Greaves. Considered auto-includes in most decks, these cards are gold, keeping Numot from being removed and letting him bash face as soon as he is played. Darksteel Plate. Hexproof dragons are scary. Hexproof and indestructible dragons are terrifying. Sword of Fire and Ice. This card doesn't give you as relevant of protection as, let's say, green or black, but the abilities both run very good with this deck. Like any good control deck, Numot runs a fair share of counter magic. Spell Crumple, Cryptic Command, Force of Will, Hinder, Desertion, and Dismiss. This deck has a fairly mana-hungry general, so we get some help in the resource department with a little bit of ramp. Gilded Lotus, Soul Ring, Expedition Map, Weathered Wayfarer, Solemn Simulacrum. This deck doesn't play green and black, the typical colors for returning things from the graveyard, but this deck does have its own ways of bringing stuff back for another round. Anarchist, Mnemonic Wall, and Izzet Chronarch. They all return vital spells like Cryptic Command or Time Stretch so that your opponents can never be sure that those spells are truly gone. Auramancer. Does the same thing as our last 3 creatures, but gives us a little bit of help with all those mind-controlling auras that we mentioned earlier. Academy Ruins. Brings back our mana rocks and equipment when our opponents are jerks and blow them up. This deck is also capable of doing plenty of tutoring so it can get a perfect hand going. Fabricate. In a deck that packs all kinds of different artifacts, this card becomes invaluable. Enlightened Tutor. This card has a ton of good targets, from Soul Ring to Mind Control to Steel Hellkite. Idyllic Tutor. Need to control magic right now? This card has got you covered. Also can dig up enchantments like Haunted of Seeing Winds. Mystical Tutor. Vital for grabbing our ever so necessary counter spells and sweepy sorceries that help us win the game. Trinket Mage. This guy has a few sweet targets in Soul Ring, Expedition Map, and Sensei's Divining Top. Stoneforge Mystic. This chick is an awesome tutor in Voltron-themed decks, but she pulls her weight very well in this deck too, searching for either pair of boots, Darksteel Plate, or Sword of Fire and Ice. Tezzeret the Seeker. This guy is one of the best tutors you can have. Play artifact lands? He gets them. Mana rocks? He gets those too. Game-winning equipment? Not a problem. This deck doesn't run too many creatures, so it packs plenty of removal to keep the board clear. Swords to Plowshares, Capsize, Austere Command, Comet Storm, Oblivion Stone, Hallowed Burial, and Rout. No control or Aikido-style commander deck would be complete without digging power and draw power. Sensei's Divining Top, Crystal Ball, Arcanist the Omnipotent, Consecrated Sphinx, Blue Sun Zenith, Haunted of Seeing Winds. On theme with Numot, this deck runs a small land destruction package. Armageddon, the classic land destruction spell, this card does what it's meant to do very well. Cataclysm, this card is devastating in a multitude of ways, but mostly to everyone's mana base. Devastation, this card pretty much blows up everything, which all or nothing reset buttons can be very handy in a pinch. Dust Bowl, Tectonic Edge, Ghost Quarter, and Strip Mine. These lands are all key to slowing down other people's game plans. Not to mention, Dust Bowl and Strip Mine work very nicely with the next card I'm about to mention, Crucible of Worlds. This artifact works great with all of your land destruction effects, and can be a win condition if you play Cataclysm and have this and Strip Mine on the field. The rest of the cards in the deck don't necessarily have their own category, but they help us continue our game plan. Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker. This guy works great with all of our Enter the Battlefield guys. Miss Meadow Witch. This also works with our Enter the Battlefield effects, but can save creatures from being wiped out by mass removal. Venser the Sojourner. Similar to the last two cards, Venser does awesome stuff with our Enter the Battlefield dudes and has a fantastic ultimate. Steel Hellkite. Also known as Science Dragon, I have had this card appear in multiple past videos. This guy is that good. A Johnny Vengeant. Keeping problem permanents tapped is very useful. Being able to blow some utility dudes away with the second ability is also pretty nice. And of course, the final ability is Killer. Time Warp and Time Stretch. Just as the cards say, these give you extra turns, which at times can be vital. They also help enable an infinite turn combo. All you need is Time Warp or Time Stretch, one of the three creatures that bring sorceries back from the graveyard, and a way to continuously flicker them or have them enter the battlefield. Voila! You can now take as many turns as you want. Finally, the rest of the cards in the deck are our utility lands and mana fixing. A Darker Wastes, Ancient Den, Arid Mesa, Azorius Chancery, Battlefield Forge, Command Tower, Flagstones of Trocaire, Great Furnace, Izzet Boilerworks, Core Haven, Minamo School at Water's Edge, Mystic Gate, Oboro Palace in the Clouds, Plateau, Reflecting Pool, Reliquary Tower, Rugged Prairie, Scalding Tarn, Seat of the Synod, Sheevan Reef, Steam Vents, Tundra, Volcanic Island, and 3 islands, 2 mountains, and 2 plains. Now let's take a look at the strengths and weaknesses of the deck. For its strengths, the deck runs a very strong counterspell and control magic suite. It can rely on its general if it needs to. It has some combos that will end the game. Its Aikido style strategies make it very adaptable. The weaknesses. Its 3 colors can get easily blown out by non-basic land hate. It doesn't run very much spot removal. The game-ending combos can be easily disrupted. And it relies on other decks having stuff on the battlefield to steal. You should play this deck if you like stealing other people's stuff, you want to have multiple strategies and ways to win, you like to cast big swingy spells, you love Enter the Battlefield effects on your dudes, and you like the idea of playing a wedge-colored deck. Well, that's it for this episode of The Other 99. I hope this inspires you to build an Aikido deck of your own that enjoys using other people's resources against them. If you've built Numot or another one of the red, white, blue generals, let me know how you built it in the comment section. This is Carson with Top & Go Productions, and as always, thanks for watching.